Yo! What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the stream. We got World Series tonight. USA Circuit of the Americas. We got a couple of new people joining us. So it's going to be a fun one. Give us a hello in the chat if you're around. And if you're not around, well, probably don't give me a hello. Hopefully some people are. V-Ducks, what's up? Just gonna pop the chat window out so I can see it a little clearer. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Should be a good race tonight. Let's start it up. Let's bring the stream out a little bit. How are we all? Hey, Adapt, what's going on? Hell yeah, we got the thumbs up from V-Ducks. Alright, should be a good race. Like I say, we got Circuit of the Americas. Not one of my personal favorites. It's got a real tricky Sector 1, so hopefully everyone manages to keep it in the track limits here. It's usually my main consideration. So we are underway with qualifying. So like I said, we got a couple new people. We got A-Lock or A-Lock or A-Lock. That's another one that's going to be weird. Bosch, though, I know how to pronounce that. Yeah, and that's it, I think, in terms of the new races. So welcome. We got Bosch in an Alpine, I believe, A-Lock in the McLaren, and as always, Aladdin is going to be starting us off. So let's bring up the details that everyone loves. The telemetry, everything. Before we do that, let's get a good look at the track from Aladdin's perspective. So we got rather a tricky one. Big old DRS straight down the back, which is always good for the overtakes. Bit of a strange one for strategy. The softs really are quick around here, but they wear off quite fast in my experience. Mediums are very nice. It's a track that you can put hards on, I believe. There's only a couple, I think, where hards are really viable. And this can be one with the right race situation. If there's an early safety car and then none for the rest of the race, it can be really good. Alright, we're going to ride on board with the man himself. Everyone is out on an outlap apart from Sinker, Aussie Dude and Bosch, so we're going to watch Aladdin, but we're also going to flick back and see A-Lock, who It's obviously a new driver. We want to see the new drivers and how they are doing. Alright, so tricky first section that Aladdin has navigated quite well. A lot of engine braking necessary. We see out onto this big long straight, a very, very clean exit, getting on the power early and smoothly. So this is where we expect to see quite a bit of overtaking. Now you want to ride that curb on the right and turn well over this curb. Aladdin does a good job. You can cut it more than that if you need to or want to. And then we see engine braking through here. That's a tricky corner. Yeah, so you got to be careful putting the power on. Got to keep tight on the exit here. Perfect. This is probably one of the trickier corners in the game, that fast left-hander. And then coming round, we're going to see Aladdin's first time, a 132.9. So we're going to see how the rest of the crew does. Gares with a 131.6. Just coming across the line now is Pentagonial with a 133.6. Just behind we have Aussie Dude starting a lap. Westhoff is set at 134. We're going to flick back while we see the rest of the results come into Alock, who is one of those new drivers that's setting a time for the first time. Keeping it relatively tight, turning up a gear that maybe it's not necessary. You don't really need to be an 8th for that, but still. Loggy Bear given space on the side, and Alock with a 150.6, so could have been with a 15-second gap, could be a spin or a little incident there. Hopefully they will set another time. In the meantime, we've seen V-Ducks into second place with a 132.3. O10s on the mediums up into fourth with a 133.4, which has bumped Pentagonial down to a 5th spot with Valhalla, Westhoff and Catino rounding out those that have set times. So, our DAPT is unfortunately had one cancelled. HK, as we can see so many cars out on the track now, HK getting a massive tow down this straight, so if that McLaren is not on a lap, if Alock's not on a lap, needs to potentially get out of the way. Did HK just invalidate there? Possibly. So is Alock on one? Yes, Alock might be setting another time on those same tyres. It is traffic madness here. We've got so many people out all at the same time. Ooh, just keeps it in. Let's see what Alock can do with this one. Crosses the line with a 134.5 and comfortably moves up into 9th place. Only has a 10th to go to move up another spot, and there's definitely some time left in that lap, so hopefully we can see. HK is out of qualifying as we see a spin on the exit of turn 1, and that's quite deep into the exit there, as we see the tyre very, very carefully placed on top of the car. So that's a big shame for HK. We'll be starting at the back. But HK has started from the back a few times and recovered quite well. So hopefully we see that happen. Sinker has invalidated, so possibly just going around again. And we'll go for another time. We have Aussie dude with yellow flags in Sector 3. Sometimes the slowdown into the pit can cause that. Valhalla is currently out on a lap. Alok might be out again, I'm not sure. It could just be an in-lap, I think. So let's go back to Valhalla and see where they finish up. Does improve by almost 6/10, just 0.2 off of that full 6/10. Bit of an awkward situation there with traffic. Hopefully they are not on another one. Loggy Bear coming out for the first time. Sinker has started one. So we're going to watch Sinker go through. HK needs to cut ties with his good friend Barry R. They're getting too close too often. HK to cut his way through the field, yeah, agree, Dave. HK for the win. Want to see, one of these days we're going to get an amazing result and a great video out of it. That's what I'm waiting for. Yeah, I think HK is doing some limit testing in qualies at the moment. So that could be why we see them every now and then have a bit of a slip up. But as long as you keep it pointed the right way in the race, that's all that counts. So we have Sinker now coming around the second to last corner. Very neat. Riding the curb nicely. And coming around onto the main straight to set a time of a 1:33.5 flat. So that's good enough for 6th place. And a very good looking time. Is this Coutinho up ahead? It is. So Coutinho on an outlap. Had a bit of a yawn there. Adapt also seems to be on a hot lap, so we can see. Ooh, that's enough to get you some underbody damage right there. So having a little of a hard time trying to engine brake through that sector. Bosch still yet to set a time. Loggy Bear out on one though. Starting to see some of the drivers higher up the field come out for their second lap. Loggy Bear seems to have pulled out of that one, maybe. Not sure. We'll follow on just in case. Ooh, a little bit of drift going on there. Ooh, really taking it out wide, lifting quite a bit. Has turned the ERS off though, so it might just be starting their first go now. And if that's an invalidation, that's not good. It doesn't seem to be though. So coming across the line we have Adapt. No, Adapt is just starting one too, so I'm terrible at this. O10's coming across the line, not setting a time. Is that Sinker in the pits? Yeah, so we don't have too many people coming through yet. Pentagonial, who is just coming through Sector 3, has had a little moment. And a spin. Aladdin, though, onto the main straight to start off their next timed lap. Who do we have coming over? Is that Gares resetting the provisional pole time? Only improving by a tiny amount, but extending that lead. Pentagonial now coming into turn 1. Probably choosing to go around again. Has the fuel light though already on. So for this early in the lap, that is a little concerning. Hopefully they have enough fuel to get round. Their teammate though, Bosch, is just coming across the line, really maxing out the refs. So Bosch going for their first time. Such a tricky turn 1 too. Bosch really keeps it centered in the track. We want to see a downshift here. Alright, we're seeing people do struggle with this Sector 1. It is a really tricky one. You've got to really get your downshifts correct. Bosch having a hard time selecting the right gear there. However, the line is pretty much what we would expect. Needs to shift up slightly earlier. Don't need to be maxing the revs out. Cuts that one very nicely. Really want to be maximizing the amount of track you're cutting there. Couple short shifts up here. It's looking clean. The Sector 2 is coming along nicely. Or the start of Sector 3 rather. This is a tricky one. Keeps it very tight. Even clips a little curb. Has the potential to improve even more with this. So crossing the line with a 1:40.4 puts them in 13th. So is ahead of a couple people, mostly those that haven't set times, and Loggy Bear, who had a bit of a rough one. Alright. Towards the other end of the grid though, we have Aladdin, who's really cutting that corner. Is choosing to come in, so might be coming around for another one. Pentagonial now is on an outlap, maybe? O10's definitely is, same with Westhoff. Sinker is on a timed one. Coming along that long DRS straight. So people, I've yet to see any of the drivers really hang it out wide and use the whole track coming down into that sharp braking zone. So all the drivers leaving a little time out on the track. Oh, as we see Sinker just getting on the accelerator slightly early. As Bosch, or Bosch's AI rather, comes around. Oh, and a disaster for Sinker with another spin. We're gonna let him sort that out without harassing him with the camera. Oh well, okay, he's back, but yeah, he's burning off all the fuel possible before starting his final lap. 1 minute 40 seconds left in this qualifying session, so people need to be starting their final attempts now. So we're going to follow on with Gers and see what a... Wait, did Gers just improve on an outlap then? What was that? Anyway, Gers crossing the line, ready to start their final attempt. Hopefully we should see some lovely engine braking through here. Down 2 gears, cuts that one, gets out wide. Invalidates though, coming back across. So it does have time to go again maybe, but we'll need to get quite the move on. Actually might not have time. V-Dux is just about to cross the line so we'll have time. O10s is out on one, and Valhalla. O10s is invalidated too, so O10s won't get a time. Where's A-Lock? A-Lock through Sector 1, so A-Lock is on one. Oh! Okay, well that's very rough for A-Lock. Valhalla, even though ghosting's on, that is very, very sketch to do that. And then to retire straight afterwards, that's pretty rough. I think an apology is probably necessary there. Even with ghosting on, you don't want to be backing out over the track like that. It just scares people, you know, as we saw. Okay, VDUX though is on a lap, has the best possible track, has waited the longest, and has the best possible shot at setting a pole lap here. So Gares with a 131.6. VDUX needs a good 4/10 just in Sector 2. It's got 3, so it's going to need another 4/10 just in this final sector. That is a big, big ask. And with that snap, that's possibly the end of that wish. Needed a almost perfect final sector. Possibly worth backing off and just saving the tyres, but do you think VDUX will do that? No. So it does improve. 2.5 tenths in the final lap is quite an improvement, but just not enough. So very, very clear out in front there. So we have Gares in pole, VDUX in second, Aladdin Westhoff on the second row, Pentagonial and Adapt on the third row, all on softs. But then we have O10s in 7th on the mediums, Valhalla, Sinker, Catino round out the top 10. Everyone else on the soft tyres. And then with the free choice, we have Aussie Dude, A-Lock, Bosch, Loggy Bear. Who else have we got? HK, who we saw unfortunately not set a time. Apex, who suffered a similar fate, and the Viking, who just doesn't. So, there we go. This is where we're at. Hopefully we should see a rather interesting race. And penalties are going to be the big thing here, I think. So I would encourage drivers, for my sake, don't make me do quick maths on stream. Just don't get penalties. It's easier for everyone. All right. 20 seconds to go. Here we are, the USA Grand Prix for the World Series. Sponsored by Sully Shirts, Shudder Media, and Sim Racing SA. Thank you to our sponsors. And we're going to be underway shortly. All right, let's do it. Lights are on, lights are off, and they are away. So we see VDUX getting a slightly rough start. Aladdin already up into second, although VDUX has the inside line. Pushes Aladdin slightly wide. We've got yellow flags already. Nobody seems to have died as the main start of the field come through. I mean, it's just cars everywhere. What can you really do? We see Bosch dropping quite far down the pack. What has happened with Bosch? Cutting some corners, maybe some damage, not quite sure. Up further though, we have Gares with a 7/10, 8/10 lead. VDUX hanging in there, Aladdin, Westhoff, followed by Adapt and Pentagonial. Everyone quite close. Loggy Bear with one of the closest deltas. We have him just overtaking O10s, who tried to defend on the inside but didn't get it. Big lock up there from Loggy Bear. O10s moves off to the side, so definitely some damage from O10s. Aussie Dude's AI is potentially causing havoc there. A little bit further up, we have Pentagonial, who's 3/10 behind Adapt now, closing that gap. Both take a very wide line through there. I think you're much better off trying to keep it tight, but it's very difficult with the high fuel loads. As we see Pentagonial 2/10 now, so really closing in on Adapt. We see O10s pitting, so started on the mediums. That is a disaster for your medium start. That is not what you want. Pentagonial and Adapt into turn 1 with a little bit of an exchange. Adapt holds it and does break away quite a bit. Pentagonial runs that curb. Oh no! HK racing with the DNF into turn 1. The same barrier that he crashed into in quali. Oh no, we're going to see it now. There he is, basically the same position. O10's getting us a very good shot of it, and possibly going over track limits while doing it. So we have a VSC, which does not help O10s much at all. What is happening with A-Lock is just coming out of the pits, so we have some penalties already. We've got to bring up telemetry, we've got to bring up lap data, and let's see what our tyres are. And we are underway, I believe. So we have some yellow flags, but no drive-throughs. So that's amazing. Little mistake there, a bit of a snap from Aladdin. Apex has chosen to come out on the hards, or possibly started on those tyres, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, started on hards. I did not see that. So there you go. Interesting strategy. Could work out for them. Adapt, with the pressure that Pentagonial is putting on them, has now got a penalty for track limits. So no practice at this track. That's alright, HK. This is one of those ones that, like, it sucks. The track's just not fun. So keep your chin up, you'll bounce back. So Gares now with a 1 second lead. I believe DRS is on. V-Ducks breaking DRS range to Aladdin. We will see if it's on now. It is. So Gares and V-Ducks are going to sort of drive off a bit here. Aladdin probably not going to catch. A little further down though, Apex on those hard tyres is catching Valhalla. So this is ideal if you're on the hard tyres. I don't think you want to send it up the middle here though. I think you want to just sort of wait behind, right? Like, you can just farm DRS off the guy. Valhalla will be looking to get past, I'm sure, especially through this sector. We have some yellow flags. That is a McLaren of A-Lock in Sector 2, just turning around now. Right at the front we have V-Ducks and Gares driving off into the distance just a little bit. Pentagonial, who has gotten past Adapt, is now looking at Westhoff, down to 4/5 of a second with the DRS, and no DRS for Westhoff. So this could be a move. You probably don't have the space to go into turn 1, but if Pentagonial can keep this gap, that back straight is looking very, very good already. We all hate it, yeah. There's a lot of hate for this track, I think. It's one of those ones that's just... it's so finicky. And, you know, you hit the wrong curve and you're just dead. So fast, speed. me and our great mates, Limitless, introduced me, yeah. You don't want to get too familiar with the barriers here. VDUX, though, it does get past Gez, so we should expect to see a big lockup there from VDUX. We should expect to see these two sort of go back and forward a bit, use that DRS to overtake each other. It's going to be all about the ERS game, of which Gez is quite far ahead. Pentagonial has made it in front of Westhoff on that main straight, and is looking for Aladdin next, is 1.3 seconds ahead. Westhoff will still have ERS for this next straight, but back a little bit further, we had a bit of a pack going. What's happened there? Valhalla's taken some damage. Okay. So Valhalla's got damage, I think. Wanted to pit there. Misjudged it, I think is the word there. And so we'll have to go around again. That's pretty much a disaster. Gez patiently sitting behind VDUX. Has the DRS for this straight, so we're going to see what is used in terms of energy. Both using a bit, both have turned it off at the same time. VDUX not using any, neither's Gez, so Gez maybe just happy to sit back. Uses a little, but it's very late to be using it. So no success there. Pentagonial, though, did manage to just get into DRS range and has made it past Westhoff. So, oh no, that would have been Westhoff that made it back in front of Pentagonial, and so they've swapped spots. That is my mistake. I'm already thinking that he's caught up to Aladdin, which is not the case. So my mistake there. But the front two, they're still just 4/10 between them. Big gap now to Aladdin. Adapt picks up another penalty and pits. So Apex on those hard tyres is all the way up into 6th. This is looking so great for Apex, who just needs to get into DRS range of somebody and stay there. Adapt coming out on the medium tyres. Sinker looking to keep just in range of Apex, who on the hard tyres is doing such a great job. Is trying to gap these soft runners. It's not going to be able to do it now, but these two not using too much energy. We're going to flick back and see Westhoff, who is getting the exit, using the energy. Pentagonial covering the inside. Westhoff keeping the slipstream. Pentagonial tucking back in behind to pick up a little bit of that slipstream. Valhalla has wing damage confirmed. Yeah, it did seem that way. So, yeah, missed the pit. Did end up pitting. It's come out in 10th on the hard tyres, sorry. So could potentially get to the end on those, as we see a yellow flag in Sector 3. Who's in Sector 3 at the moment? It's this pack, really, isn't it? So, not sure what that was. Bosch, though, with only 3 laps on the hard tyres, is pitting and getting a fresh wing. That's not ideal. If you're on those hards, you want to be staying on them for a long time. Otherwise, you're just sort of wasting what they're good for. Sinker making a move now onto Apex, down into turn 1. Really going wide, and Apex sort of allowing it to happen, getting a way wider run at that corner and sneaking back in front. This is such great driving from Apex on these tyres. We did say in the qualifying run that the hard tyres can work around here. They can be very good, and Apex, I think, maybe has done a little practice, might have worked out that those hards are so useful. Sinker here taking a very strange line. You don't really want to be trying to make moves down there. You want to get a good exit to use the DRS. So has to use energy to compensate for that, and he's down to 5% now. So this is where, oh, we see Westhoff just tapping Pentagonial, as Pentagonial gets past into that hard-braking area. Apex and Sinker, though, back and forward. Sinker trying everything to get around Apex. Needs to be focusing. Oh, okay, that was sketch. Sinker taking some strange lines, putting a lot of wear on those tires, using a lot of that energy. Apex now getting a little squeamish, and Sinker decides to come in. Oh, okay, I'm getting nervous of that entrance every time I see someone. So Apex now up into 5th, hard tires, massive strategies, going well. Westhoff has pitted too onto the mediums, so 20 laps on the mediums is possible, but it's going to be a hell of a run. Vidux now and Gers continue at the front. Gers has gotten back in front of Vidux, has a huge gap in ERS. Has almost 40% on Vidux, so Vidux needs to stay behind, you know, collect some more energy, use that DRS potentially to get back into the sort of longer term goal of this race, which is finishing first. Obviously, you don't need to be leading the whole time. Has managed to claw back about 15% just over this lap, but is going to, I'm sure, be challenged by Gers, who's at 8/10 now, and ooh, a little moment there from Gers, maybe faking a pit. Gers is going to be looking to see if at any point Vidux stops using energy, that potentially they can break the DRS. Aladdin, though, with 8-lap-old softs, is coming into the pit to try and undercut those people in 1st and 2nd. So we're going to see how well that works out. O10's game crashed. No. Disaster. Where's O10's? Ah, yes. Okay, so he is a ghost currently down in 13th on the hards. Look, having your game crash while you're on hard tires is not the worst thing that could happen. Your AI can drive them around quite safely, and you'll be able to come back with basically the same tires you left. Aussie Dude coming into the pit now and coming out on the mediums, so we'll have 19-ish laps to go. Gers still out the front. The ERS is only at 5% difference now, so Vidux has done a great job keeping this energy up and trying to build that back up over the course of following Gers. Apex 13 seconds behind 1st and 2nd on those hard tires, which could probably go like a long time on these. Gers pits and Vidux stays out, so Gers going for a bit of an undercut here. We're going to have to keep track and see how this works. So with that in mind, Admiral Aladdin is coming around, so we're going to see how strong this undercut is with the previous example of this. So there was a decent gap between Gers and Aladdin. Where is this going to come out? We see Aladdin setting a purple sector 3 much faster on these new tyres and has about a 6-second gap. Now, if I was good at my job, I would know what the gap was before, but because I didn't look, I don't know. But I'm guessing that gap has come down, so we could see Gers possibly come out much further ahead. We will wait and see. But Aladdin choosing to go double softs, so that's an interesting choice, and that choice of a second stint on softs is going to really change how far that gap comes down. So the question is, does Vedux come in this lap, or are they confident in the tyres? No, so is choosing to come in. So we're going to see just how well this undercut works. Gare's coming around, Sector 3. There are 3 types of people in this world, those that can count and those that can't. That is absolutely right, HK, and I'm one of those 3 people for sure. So Gare's on the main straight now. Vedux just coming out of the pits, has the limiter off. We see him up in front. No, we don't. He's just coming out now. Are they going to... No? Okay, so quite a gap there. 2.5 seconds. Gare's, with the massive undercut, has broken DRS. And this is huge. Hasn't used too much of that energy either. And now Vedux in traffic with Apex. This is just getting worse and worse for Vedux. Not only got gapped in the pit, but has now come out behind traffic. Is going to get the DRS here to claw back a bit of that gap. So what Apex has taken away in terms of that slight slowing down, he's going to give it back a little bit in terms of this DRS. But 3.5 seconds is the damage. So Gare's, just with a perfect pit strategy there, has flipped this battle for first place completely on its head. It is completely in Gare's control now. Massive strategy. Coutinho, we see up ahead, is being given the blue flags, so with the game the way it is, he will get ghosted, but moves out of the way anyway. Gares sets the fastest lap. 4 seconds almost is the gap now. Apex does have DRS on those hard tyres, so is going to hold on to Vedux for now, but will not collect it for the next sector, you would think. And we are right on 4 seconds now, the gap. This is going to have to be a huge, huge stint on these mediums for Vedux. Does have the fresher tyres. Drivers are saying mediums feel really bad. Oh, okay. So, I mean, that is kind of reflected in what's happening, right? We're seeing Apex on the hards doing very well. 11 laps doesn't seem to be too far off the pace of the cars that are around him. You know, has dropped a second to Vedux, but Vedux is quick, battling for first, you know, on fresh mediums, so it's hard to say. Aladdin's closing a little bit, but has the softs, is going to go soft medium to finish it off. But the question really is, can Pentagonial close this 11-second gap to Apex? Because if they can't, then Apex is in a really good position to go for a late stop, low fuel, soft tyres, and make a bit of a charge through the pack. So we see Bosch down in 15th. Aussie Dude has DNF'd. Coutinho is also quite far out of the race at the moment, has been lapped. O10s, who has come back from that disconnection problem or game crash, is making some inroads on these hard tyres again. Further up we have Loggy Bear, and we have a pass just up with Westhoff and Ardapt. So could be that Ardapt had a little moment there. Further up the field though, we have Aladdin on those soft tyres, chasing down Apex. Apex moving to break the slipstream. Isn't going to be enough though. softs versus hards is a rough thing to do. But Pentagonial has dropped back from Apex on these hard tyres, so it could be that these mediums just are not the right tyre for this track. The hards, 12 laps old, aren't really going to be any different from when they were new in terms of pace. Pentagonial getting back a little bit, but it's weird because this track has quite some straights. It's not like it's a massively bendy track. Sector 1 is, but I feel you can manage that with the hard tyres quite well with the engine braking. You just back off that slight bit. As we see, Apex doesn't seem to be struggling getting through that whatsoever. Is just taking the right line, using the engine for braking, getting a good exit. Hasn't really dropped that much time to Aladdin, who is quite a fast driver and has, pretty fresh soft tyres, only 4 laps old. You would expect to see more than 3/10 gained by Aladdin there. V-Dux, in the meantime, has clawed back just a little bit of that gap. I think was sitting at about 4 seconds, is now at 3, but using a lot of energy, and Gers is not. So Gers can afford to just maintain this gap, using the energy when necessary, keep it out of DRS range, and potentially can just sail home here. We see Pentagonial still at the same place as last lap, still around that 13.7 second mark to Apex, so not making the inroads necessary to be challenging Apex just yet. Of course, Pentagonial will finish on these tyres, and Apex will need to pit, but with the hards can go all the way to lap 20, 21, and then change to soft tyres, and will be on a charge for sure. Further down the field, we have RDapt just popping into the pits. So, I'm not sure if there's damage for RDapt, but whatever tyres they're going on to will want to be going to the end. So, it's a new set of mediums, and it is a new wing. So, a little damage. V-Dux now using not too much energy, just a couple percent. And is at least in eye shot of Gers. Has brought the gap down to 2.7, so slowly chipping away at it. So this is good stuff. We're going to need to see V-Dux continue to do this without using too much energy. Just for fun, Gers has 2 track limits. He's needing a bathroom break from fear. What the hell was that? Gers has spun. HK is distracting me in the chat. Gers has spun and has lost the place to Aladdin too. And Catino's Ghost. That's not going to be an issue though. Gers has spun and the race is back on. Needing a bathroom break from fear. So yeah, O10s don't get... Gers picks up a track limit and he gets a tyre spin off the exit of turn 1. So this is just going from bad to worse for Gers. Oh, I don't believe what I'm seeing. So that could have just been a P-related mistake. Oh my god, Gers has spun again. No. HK, talk to me. What's going on? He's retired from the session. Okay, so the insider information from HK is that Gers really needed the bathroom break. That could have played into his decision to retire there. We're just not sure. He's having a moment. He is. Well, a couple of moments. It was just moment after moment. And that is basically handed the race to V-Dux. Apex is in a great position too. Aladdin will have to pit again. So these softs are not going to make it to the end. Apex now, who is increasing the gap on Pentagonial. So has moved that gap from 13.7 up to 14.4. So even with the fresher mediums, these hard tyres that are just getting older and older, they are still putting in great laps. And Apex is doing a massive drive here on these tyres to make the most of them. So the real big question is going to be, when do they decide to pit? Are they going to wait and hope for a safety car? If a safety car comes out at lap 20, Apex will win the race. I've got no doubt about that. It's just going to be too perfect for their strategy. Needs to keep it in track limits though. That could have been a warning there. We don't want to see that. So Apex is keeping it in striking distance of Aladdin, so has only lost, over the course of about 4 or 5 laps, about 8/10 to Aladdin, who's on soft tyres which are just going to keep falling off. So, like, 7 laps is pushing it, 8, 9, 10 is going to be too much. So, sooner or later, Apex will move up into the next spot. Apex has 2 warnings. HK providing the insider information yet again. So Apex with 2 warnings needs to be very, very consistent here. Do not get a track limits violation. And definitely a podium is on the table, but first place is possible. And we do see Aladdin come in, so we're expecting to see some medium tyres waiting for him. As Apex does move up into second place with a 9.6 second gap to V-Dux. Aladdin pops in, grabs the medium tyres that they will finish on. Pentagonial is just rounding the last corner now. So where will these two come out? They're going to be quite close. Let's see, is Pentagonial aware of where Aladdin is? Aladdin is just far enough back that Pentagonial can take that corner just as they would want to. And so this is great for Aladdin. Fresher tyres is right in range for DRS on this straight and could potentially gap Pentagonial in that Sector 3 twisty section. No, okay, so Pentagonial moves out of the way, potentially to gain the DRS, on Aladdin. I have opinions on people doing that, and I won't share them. So Pentagonial is closing this gap back up. Will Aladdin use the energy? He has turned it off, is going to keep the position though. So this is perfect for Aladdin. Has the opportunity now to use these fresh tyres if he can set a really clean sector. Could potentially be clear of threat. So we need to see that gap just getting bigger and bigger, and it is 8/10 now. It needs to be at about 1 second very soon, and it is. So it's over 1 second. It's just come back down. No. So Aladdin has broken the DRS, and we should expect him to sail off now into the sunset and not be under threat. Just needs to keep it clean through here. So Aladdin, how's Ardapt? Need info. Yeah, so Ardapt is on in 9th place with the 40% ERS. Has fresh mediums that will go to the end. Let's see now what the penalties are like. 9 seconds of penalties for Ardapt, so is going to really struggle to keep it in the top 10 and gain points. Yeah, but is closing up on Valhalla. If they get DRS down this straight, could potentially keep it in front of Pentagonial. once penalties are taken into consideration. We do see the 2-second gap for Aladdin now. Apex still out on these hard tyres, 18 laps now. Is maintaining this gap to Vedux. Is widened just a little bit, but not too much. Takes out the bollard and is coming in. So 18 laps is the answer to the question, how long do those tyres go? Or 19 laps, sorry, as they cross the line. And we should see some fresh softs waiting. The real question is going to be, where do they come out? Aladdin now just crossing the line. Pentagonial coming into the pits with 9 lap hold mediums, so is going to fall back. Apex here wants to be on to the back of Aladdin as soon as possible. Bosch with a DNF. Yellow flags, do not have a safety car, please. 3 yellow flags, no safety cars, please. That is just going to ruin Apex's strategy. Okay, we're good. So we need a big charge now from Apex. The Viking has pitted onto the fresh mediums. A charge is necessary from him too. Has slotted in 8th, just behind Valhalla on those older tyres. So our DAP now has moved up into 4th, but with that 9-second penalty is effectively in 10th, so we'll need some big movements to keep that gap as wide as possible. Apex now down to 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds to Aladdin. Needs to close this as soon as possible. Sinker, with a bit of a quiet race, is keeping out of trouble and is kind of in the middle of no man's land a bit. 5 seconds either side. Pentagonial behind on the fresh softs will be catching. Westhoff ducks into the pits. So, yeah, 12. I mean, I feel like you can make those mediums last. It's going to be interesting to see where Westhoff finishes in relation to Sinker and Pentagonial. Sometimes I wonder if those later stops are really worth it. One person who it is working out insanely well for is Apex. So Apex now in DRS range of Aladdin is using the energy, only has 10% left. Aladdin not using any. So this is the concern here, is that even though Apex has caught Aladdin, he now has to follow him, and he has to get past with very little energy. Vedux is pit. Vedux is pitting with 10 lap hold mediums for a 6 lap stint on the softs. Where's he going to come out? Surely he comes out in first place, right? This could be a very good strategy here for Vedux. He's taking the sensible choice. Apex, though, makes the move down into turn, or the final corner, has the DRS. We see Vedux just up ahead. It's now a 5-second gap. So Vedux needs a good outlap on these tyres. But has wisely chosen to cover off. Same, I would have stayed out on the mediums, but I'm crashed out, so don't listen to me. Yeah, that's right. People that have crashed can still have opinions on things. I mean, I don't know. Vedux has chosen the safe option, I think. He had the gap to pit and still come out in first. Is now on fresher tyres than Apex, so there's no risk of them just wearing down an Apex going on this big charge and catching. We see Aladdin holding on to the DRS. And Apex with the flash and light. Aladdin, if he can hold on, Can potentially sneak back into second. It's going to be real tricky though going through here. Further back down the field, Sinker has moved up into fourth with a big old gap. 18 seconds to Aladdin. Pentagonial is within a second of Sinker and has a massive difference in tyres. Apex now set in fastest laps. So the charge is certainly on. We're just going to have to see if they can close the rest of it. Pentagonial now coming around the second to last corner and the final corner with that gap just getting smaller and smaller. Has the DRS, is using the energy. The grip on exit is huge. Okay, HK was talking about Westhoff there. Yeah, I suppose it's very different if you're back in the field. You know, you can afford to stay out on the mediums. For VDUX, you know, it's just a smart cover, like you say. So yeah, it's just goes to show though that sometimes the right strategy is just different depending on where you are. RDAPT now with 7-lap-old mediums coming into the pits. I better see a wing change here. I don't. So this I don't agree with. 5 laps is just not enough to make the most out of those tyres, I don't think. So Sinker is managing to stay on the back of Pentagonial, but this probably won't last. VDUX now with the fastest time, so has increased that gap. Sinker with a little moment, catches it very nicely. Let's check, as always, on the penalties. So just 3 seconds for Sinker. So I think we need to forget about 4th place and focus on keeping that gap to Westhoff at this point. Westhoff on the fresh softs has 4 laps to close 7 seconds. So that's doable, but we're going to need to see big chunks coming out. Big chunks. The rest of the field is quite spread, and this is pretty normal for this track. This terrible, terrible track. As you can see on the minimap down in the bottom right, oh well, maybe you can't actually. I'll take away chat for a second so you can see it a little clearer. Yeah, so there's a bit of a spread. 30 seconds in last place, the gap 23, then 10, then 16. Then it comes down a little bit, then it gets a bit bigger. But basically all the cars out of DRS range. So what ends up happening will largely be based, I think, on penalties. Bottom 3, that's not a major consideration. O10's 21 laps on the hards is going for a Albon-esque stint on these tyres. Sinker making it work too with a very long stint. Loggy Bear picks up another penalty, so those bottom 3, I don't think much is going to change there. RDAPT now having that 9-second penalty matched by Loggy Bear. And Catino too far away. So, this time last lap we had 10 seconds. Now we have 7.5. So, Westhoff is closing. Is going to need to put in at least another 2.5 this lap. So if we don't see it come down to 5 by the end, it's not looking great. Catino might offer some DRS here. No. Oh, maybe. That's going to be huge if Westhoff got it. No. So that's disappointing. Does Coutinho have it? Yes. So Coutinho, with the ghosting, probably should have stayed ahead there. That would have been a sick teammate move. So Westhoff has cut down another second. We're going to need at least one more for the rest of this lap. It's going to be really tricky. The tyre situation will continue to get better though. So as we come across the line, so we've got all of 26, all of 27 and all of 28. So needs 2 seconds. It's pretty doable. Just needs to keep it nice and clean. We're going to get a good look at the track now as we watch Westhoff come across an entire lap here, and we're going to check in with the gap. You can see the very strange looking giraffe kind of building in the back there. Don't like it. Sorry to be so negative, but damn, this track sucks. Miami though, next week. Hopefully we get a good American track. Westhoff down to 5 seconds now, so needs to find another 2 over the course of a few laps. Vidux though in commanding lead of this race, up to 8.5 seconds now. Apex though, Apex with damage. Apex with damage according to the insider himself, HK. What kind of damage? It's got to be underbody, right? It can't be rears. Oh no! All right, so this is doable to get to the end here. The softs are gonna start falling off though at 7, 8 laps. So Aladdin probably too far behind to make a difference. Apex just needs to not spin. So don't spin. I mean, it's easier said than done, right? Some aggressive short shifts there. Probably very useful. 24 laps on the hards from O10s though. Big stint. Very impressive. Yeah, this gap isn't coming down. Apex seems to be okay. It's going to be those tricky corners. Just keep it pointed the right way, and we'll be all good. Okay, that's weird. Checking back in with Westhoff now is down to 3.4 seconds of a gap. Can see Sinker up in the distance. This is the final lap, but not just yet for Westhoff. He's going to cross the line soon, and we'll have half a second to make up. Short shift for fuel and hot tyres from Apex. Oh my god, it's all happening for Apex. Valhalla and O10s trade positions, the Ferraris with a possible team orders, but more likely it's just O10s is on 24 lap old hard tyres. Alright, we need a clean final lap here from Westhoff. The gap is at 1/10. Oh no, sorry, it's 3 seconds the gap, right? Oh, okay, so he's already fine. What am I doing? I'm one of those 3 people that either can or can't count HK. So anyway, Westhoff is doing fine. 2 second gap. Should have 5th place. Vidux with a time penalty is so far ahead that it won't matter. And has a nice little warming of the tyres crossing the line. Apex, who is currently invisible, possibly letting the AI finish this off for him, has crossed the line in second place. Admiral Aladdin round the final corner with a big performance to round out the podium. Pentagonial now coming through the end of Sector 3 with quite the gap to Aladdin in the end, but still a very admirable race. So yeah, very good stuff. Sinker crossing the line will get bumped down with Westhoff gapping because of that penalty. Further back in the field though, we have a much bigger gap to the Viking, who's 30 seconds behind Sinker and will finish the race in 7th place. Viking no fuel, yeah, it seems that way, right? Needs to hurry up though, because Valhalla coming. Valhalla crosses in 8th. Ardapt, some of the bigger penalties now crossing the line. Loggy Bear getting penalties despite the fact that the race is over. Just got like a 20-second penalty then, and I think got bumped down. Right? Is that what happened? I don't know. That was weird though. O10's with a huge stint, 25. Don't do that. Jeez, this is scary stuff. No fuel again, is it? Is that what's happening, or just no tires? So O10's eventually crosses the line to finish off the race. So there you go. Apex Driver of the Day for Codemasters and for me too. I mean, I'm very impressed with that hard stint. O10's underfueled, yeah. I think a lot of people chose to underfuel for that one. Yeah, look, it's okay when it works, but what can you do? Great job, Picky Cat, you rock. Yeah, good job, Picky Cat. Hopefully one day he actually shows up, am I right? Anyway, so Vedux finishes in first after we had an unfortunate series of events from Gers. And didn't finish. So Gers with a huge performance. Apex from 16th all the way up into 2nd. Massive stint on the hard tyres. Big performance, well done. The rest of the field. Aladdin, Pentagonial, Westhoff, Sinker, Viking, Valhalla, Ardapt, O10's, Catino, Loggy Bear, Bosch, Gers, Aussie Dude, Alok, HK. Thanks for joining us, Bosch and Alok, the new drivers. Some DNFs from you guys, but that's always the case with the first race. So hopefully you guys had fun and you continue on. Welcome to Global Racing Leagues. Big shout out to our sponsors, Sully's Shirts, as always, Shutter Media, and Sim Racing SA. That is the US Grand Prix over with. So next, I believe it's Mexico, which is, I think, also a hated track from most people, but maybe not quite as bad as this one. So hopefully we see some good stuff going there. I realized I never brought the chat back up, but there you go. So thanks for joining me. Again, apologies from Tom, aka Hickey Cat. He will hopefully be back next week. But until then, it's me, ya boy, Cheeky Otter, signing off. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Peace.